In this video, we will learn about comparison operators in JavaScript. These are the less than, greater than, and their equal variants. Like quality operators, comparison in JavaScript have some surprising behaviors when you mix types. Let's see how they work. So JavaScript has 4 comparison operators: less than or equal, greater than or equal. And these work with numbers or strings. So let's start with numbers. Here's an example. Let me increase the font size here so that you can better view the example. So for most part, these all behave the way you expect them. Well, yeah, 42 is less than 100, and 42 is less than equal to 42, and 100 is greater than 42, and 5 is not greater or equal to 10. So this is all good and as expected. Now let's take a look at how this works with strings. This is perhaps something that is a little different from other programming languages. Like when it comes to something like Java, you don't use these operations directly with the strings, but you can do that in JavaScript. So let's see how it works. It basically does a character by character comparison using Unicode values. So take a look at this example. Is hello less than goodbye? The answer is no. And the reason is that if you were to put these in a dictionary, hello would come after goodbye because H comes after G. So like this, you will go about comparing all of these values. So hello and hi, both of them start with H, so it comes to the second letter in there. You look at E and I would come after E in a dictionary. So you would say hello is less than hi, and so on and so forth. So let us move to mixing some types and see what happens. We don't have a strict comparison similar to a strict equality values. So when you mix types, type coercion will happen, and that will result to surprising outcome. Let's take a look at example. If I try to compare 42 and 5, one being a string, the other one being a number, what happens here is that 42, the string, will be converted to number 42, and then 42, the number, is not less than 5. So this will result in false. So a bunch of other examples are given here. Look, for example, how empty a string is converted to 0 when the other argument is a number. Look how if you give it just any sort of a random string, which it cannot convert it to a number, then it will convert that to not a number. And if you compare not a number to any other number, the answer is always going to be false. This one is a stranger. You have an array, right? And the array with just one number will be converted to that number in it. So if there's an array with, let's say, value 2, then it will come out as the value 2. But if you've got an array with more than one element in it, with more than one number in it, then this will be converted into the string 1, 2, and then that string will be converted to a number because the other operand here is a number, and 1, 2 is not going to be converted to any meaningful numbers, so it's going to end up being not a number. So these are all very strange, confusing operations. You don't really need to know these edge cases. What you need to know is don't mix types. That's it. Don't do that. And be on a lookout that if inadvertently something like that happened in your program, it may end up with results that it's very hard to debug. Let's build a little bit more on this not a number to just make sure that you remember that any comparison with not a number is going to end up being false. So all of these, anything when one operand is not a number is going to end up returning false. And that is why is not a number equal to not a number also is false. So we've seen this in the previous recording. Let's also look at undefined. So that's another special case. So all comparison with undefined will also return false, and that's because undefined will be converted to not a number when you compare it against a number. So here are examples of it. All of these will end up being undefined, and then undefined against any number, sorry, not a number against any number will be false. Let's look at one more special case. We've got a lot of these cases in JavaScript. The next one is null. So what happens to null? Interestingly, null will be converted to 0. So if you do comparisons with numbers, well, if the other operand is a 0, then you may end up seeing some interesting results. Like if you do is null less than equal to 0 or greater than equal to 0, it's going to come out as, yeah, it is less than equal to 0 and it is greater equal to 0 because null is converted to 0. Now, in the plot twists when you go and compare null to the 0 itself, because then it's going to come out as false. They're not equal to one another. These are just a subset of, just a taste of many inconsistencies and quirks of JavaScript. So again, type conversions, strange things happen. Don't do it. Don't compare different types. Try to be very careful when you write code to guard against them. But also know that if you are seeing some strange behavior, you may want to go back to your code and double check if like you're comparing two variables and your expectation is that they're numbers. Maybe they're not. Maybe one of them is a string because like you read it out of a form on HTML. So be careful with that. All right, let's wrap up this recording. We've covered comparison operators in JavaScript. The key takeaway was to avoid mixed up comparison. And the other perhaps interesting thing was that in addition to being able to compare numbers against numbers, you can also compare a string against strings.